What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and I saw this article as well as some others floating around yesterday, and I thought about making a video. I decided not to, but the more I've thought about it overnight and this morning, I realized what's bothering me about it. And you can see the headline, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker put Carrie Fisher's face on a digital body to bring back Leia. And it just keeps reminding me of, before The Last Jedi was released and we found out that Carrie Fisher had tragically passed away, the lip service that Lucasfilm gave about not recreating her digitally. And we can pull it up right now, actually, and take a look at it. But, right here, Lucasfilm, Carrie Fisher won't be digitally recreated. And here's the specific statement. So here, the company behind Star Wars franchise has laid to rest rumors that Carrie Fisher may be digitally recreated for future films after her sudden death last month. Lucasfilms has no plans to digitally recreate Carrie Fisher's performance. And there was a whole bunch of stuff in there about how exactly her family would feel about it, and they wanted to make sure they respected the family and did honor to her. So they told us, well, we have all these scenes from uncut scenes from Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. We're going to make it work. And I think a lot of us people thought, well, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be hard to do. A lot of us thought that maybe that was going to be one of the bigger problems with this film going forward, that they'd have to base the plot around these things. Little did we know the mess that The Rise of Skywalker would become. But to me, once you read into exactly what they did to bring Carrie Fisher back to life, for lack of a better term, on the screen for Rise of Skywalker, it kind of makes my stomach turn a little bit. The fact that they used the last legacy character they had, Princess Leia, as one of the only way people were going to go out and see this. One of the only emotional attachments anyone has left to this Star Wars sequel trilogy is through Princess Leia. And that is the only reason they went to all this effort that we're going to read a little bit about here. And it just doesn't sit right with me. Because, yeah, you didn't completely digitally recreate her like Rogue One, but they're going to go and they're going to talk about how they digitally extracted her face and put it on a stand-in body. And that, to me, is just insane. Like, how is that not digitally recreating it? How is that not breaking your word that you promised so many years ago? And I don't think you care, but I'm just surprised that no one else is really calling them out. But anyway, back in July 2018, about a year and a half after the death of Carrie Fisher, it was confirmed that the actress had a role to play despite passing away. Writer-director J.J. Abrams said that there was unused footage of Fisher from production of Force Awakens, and the material was going to be used so the legendary character could have a part in the final chapter of the Skywalker saga. And to me, I think it would have done a lot more honor to Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia if maybe in the beginning, either before the film starts, you do it in memoriam, and then have her have an off-screen death, and would have done maybe a little more respect to the character and still be able to push the story forward. Or begin the movie opening scene with a scene of Princess Leia's funeral. Then you can show honor to her and appreciation for that character without jamming this character in scenes where she does not belong. Anyone who watches this movie, there's no way, even if you really like the movie, there's no way you can tell me that those scenes with Princess Leia weren't distracting, because he didn't belong there. It was so clear. Anyway, as it turns out, the whole process was much more complicated than simply splicing shots from Force Awakens between scenes specifically designed to make them fit contextually into Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Considerable effort on behalf of the VFX team. I participated in the visual effects focused press day this morning. As I spent a couple hours on the Disney lot in Burbank, they talked about a bunch of things. Something that really should be obvious, the look of the character in The Rise of Skywalker is very different than her appearance in Force Awakens. That's because the filmmakers felt it was important to have the General Princess Jedi's role in the new movie be specific to this one movie, not forever be recognized as being tied with Episode 7, said Guyette. If you think about it, when you start to look at any of those shots, of course, when you really start thinking about it, the truth is she has a different costume. She has different hair. She's wearing different jewelry. Okay, because she's unique to 9. That's the idea. This, as it all turned out, was the first domino to fall in a long chain. The Production established what the final goal was in terms of Carrie Fisher in the new release, but actually how they got that vision was in big question. And this is what J.J. Abrams told them. When we first started talking about it in pre-production, J.J. Abrams said, okay, how can you do this? And of course, that's the kind of challenge you want in this business, is how do we do this? We talked about it, and we said, well, what if we actually somehow use footage we've already got? And I was like, well, I thought it was going to be impossible, because how do you write the script based on lines that you have? But he said, well, I only need her in, whatever it was, 4 or 5 scenes. I said, if that's a task you're wanting to undertake, then what we can do is basically extract her face. Like, listen to the way they're talking about this. And listen to what J.J. Abrams said. Well, I only need her in 4 or 5 scenes. Just enough to use her in promotional imagery to promote Rise of Skywalker. That's all I need her in. Can you extract her face for me? And listen, here it is. The last bit is a phrase that seems crazy and violent. I don't know about violent. Outside the context of VFX, but is otherwise very straightforward. They would capture performance by using her expressions and line deliveries from the set of Force Awakens and apply those elements to a digital body. When you see Leia in the movie, essentially what you're looking at is Carrie Fisher playing Leia in an Episode 7 outtake. We take her face and build a digital character around it. That's the layer that you see in 9. The interesting thing, of course, is it's not a trivial thing to do, just that you have to build her and stage her into all the scenes. You have to write the scenes around her, performance and dialogue she's delivering from those performances. Now, and they go on to go in a little more detail about all this stuff. It's so crazy to me that you promised you weren't going to digitally recreate her. You come out with this grand statement saying, we're going to respect Carrie Fisher. But then you do this. This, to me, is digitally recreating her. And you even have, I thought this was interesting, too. Obviously, some of her family's okay with it, because that was Billy Lord standing in for Carrie Fisher at Rise of Skywalker's flashback. So the flashback scene where they are training, evidently Billy Lord was the body, and they superimposed a de-aged Leia's face on it. So obviously, Billy Lord is the daughter of Carrie Fisher. So right here, this comes from Entertainment Weekly, which says, Fisher's daughter Billy Lord was the one who played young Leia, with Fisher's face being recreated from Return of the Jedi era archival footage. Filming this scene, despite how short it was apparently a very emotional thing for the crew and Lord. With Tubac saying, something that nobody took lightly. Director J.J. Abrams was apparently very insistent that no one would play Leia other than Carrie Fisher, but he evidently wanted this scene in the movie bad enough that he was willing to go back on that, but only if it was played by Lord, and only if Lord was willing to do it. And so it just, to me, this whole situation, evidently Billy Lord was okay with it. She was emotional about it, but she did it. The whole situation in bringing back Leia is pretty ridiculous to me, because one, she didn't matter in the plot at all. Like, you can say the thing with Ben at the end, but they could have easily worked around that in a way. No one even understand what happened. Evidently, she is supposed to be using her last force power to be able to induce that vision that Ben has of Han, so that Han can be the one, like, internal in his mind. He can make that decision himself, but that went over everyone's head because of how poorly it was done. So no one even really understands how and why she died. I shouldn't say no one, but most people don't. You easily could not have had her in this movie, and it wouldn't have mattered, except you wouldn't have been able to promote it with her. You wouldn't have been able to use her in promotional imagery. Oh, the last time you'll ever see Carrie Fisher play Leia. And of course, that is why you did it, Disney. That is why you did it, Lucasfilm. And personally, I'm not surprised that they went back on what they said, but I'm surprised there wasn't more blowback, I suppose, with how ridiculous it seems. I always thought they were just going to literally take her, cut out her parts of The Force Awakens, use those words, and just put it straight in there. And maybe digitally do, just digitally do some clothes or something for her. But the fact that everything is digital and they just extracted her face, this is the only part of Carrie Fisher that you are seeing that is just ripped from The Force Awakens. It just seems weird to me. And I'm surprised that there wasn't a little more people upset about it, considering the legacy that Carrie Fisher has. But maybe I'm just being weird about it. What do you guys think? I want to hear your thoughts on if you think Disney went back on their word and digitally recreated Carrie Fisher, because that's exactly what it sounds like to me, just so they could promote it with her. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.